Welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through a story today that completely blurs the line between agricultural history and ancient mythology. We're diving into the fascinating cultural mystery of the Sadang people's ancestral rice. And I gotta tell you, this isn't just your standard story about farming. It's this profound narrative about survival, leadership, and a staggering human sacrifice that, according to the legend, literally seeded the future of an entire community.
Seriously, think about this for just a second. We run to the grocery store, we grab our staples, we cook our meals, and we rarely, if ever, give a second thought to where those fundamental crops actually came from. But what if the very grain sustaining your entire community was born from a legendary, literal human sacrifice? Today we're unpacking a story where the staple food of the Sadang people isn't just seen as a plant, it's actually believed to be the physical embodiment of 4 innocent men.
Okay, let's dive right into this. There are 4 really specific varieties of ancestral rice cultivated by the Sadang community today: Wozu Loko, Woza Kapas, Woza Dameng, and Woza Munde. But the real mystery here lies in where those names came from. These aren't just descriptive agricultural terms. They're actually named after 4 specific human men: Loko, Kapas, Dameng, and Munde. To understand how the names of these 4 guys became completely synonymous with the lifeblood of the Sadang people, we have to travel pretty far back in time.
Section 1. A Kingdom Starving.
So, picture ancient Sadang village, located in what's known today as Kising village. The conditions were just brutal. A relentless, punishing drought had struck the land. The rain literally stopped. The life-giving fields totally dried up, and a severe, agonizing famine gripped the village. But natural disasters were really only half the problem here. The Sadang people were also suffering under the rule of a king who was notoriously cruel. No one dared to oppose his commands. So you've got a starving populace, parched earth, and this uncompromising, terrifying ruler. The atmosphere was incredibly heavy and desperate.
With the crisis worsening day by day, the king comes up with the desperate plan. He summons 4 men: Loko, Kapas, Dameng, and Munde. Now, these guys were known throughout the village as being wise, strong, and deeply responsible. The king tasks them with a high-stakes barter mission. They're ordered to travel far away to the kingdom of Todo. To secure food for his starving people, the king entrusts them with the village's most precious valuables, things like wuas, kila, nekel, and various intricate local handicrafts. The goal is simple, but the pressure is immense. Exchange these goods for food and save Sadang from total starvation.
Now, the sheer weight of time is absolutely crucial here. This journey to the kingdom of Tado, it wasn't some quick weekend trip. Days of trekking through brutal terrain bled into weeks. Weeks stretched agonizingly into months. Back in Sadang, the starving people were just beside themselves with worry. And then, finally, after many long months, Loko, Kapas, Dameng, and Munda return. But it's an absolute tragedy. They step back into their starving village totally empty-handed. The barter mission had completely failed.
Section 2. The King's Cruel Command.
When they face their unyielding ruler, the king's hubris and blind rage just boils over. He actually shouts, "How dare you return empty-handed while my people are starving?" Loko, Kapas, Dameng, and Munde immediately fall to their knees. They desperately beg for mercy, pleading, "Your Majesty, we have done our best." But the king is entirely consumed by his own fury. He refuses to listen to reason, and he absolutely refuses to acknowledge the sincere effort these men put into trying to save the village.
Despite the desperate cries of the starving villagers and the men literally begging for their lives, the king's heart remains completely closed. He gives a horrific order. His soldiers brutally execute Loko, Kapas, Dameng, and Munde. But it doesn't stop there. As a final act of desecration and anger, their bodies are cut into pieces, and those pieces are carelessly scattered across a plot of land near Sadang village. It's just a dark, senseless end for 4 guys who really only tried to help.
Section 3. The Whispering Harvest. But then, out of this incredibly dark tragedy comes something, miraculous. Exactly 2 weeks pass. The king happens to be walking past that very same plot of land near the village, and to his absolute shock, the land isn't barren anymore. Instead, these mysterious small plants are sprouting from the exact soil where the men's remains were scattered. And these weren't just common weeds, they were lush, vibrant plants that the king had literally never laid eyes on before.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the moment the king accidentally steps on one of these new sprouts. As his foot crushes the leaves,
a voice suddenly cries out from the ground right beneath him. "Ouch, please do not step on me. I am a loco." The king leaps back, completely stunned, and asks the little plant who it is.
And the plant responds with this offer of unimaginable grace. Even after being brutally murdered by this exact king, Loco's spirit says, "Plant and take care of me. When my grains turn yellow, harvest them and use them as food for the king and all the people of Sadang." Instead of seeking vengeance, Loco offers his transformed body as the very salvation the village was dying for.
And, the miracle doesn't just stop with Loco. The king, who is absolutely amazed at this point, accidentally brushes against another plant and hears, "I am Kapas." Soon, the distinct voices of Daming and Munde emerge from the surrounding sprouts too. All four spirits deliver the exact same unified message of salvation. They harbor zero ill will, they only ask to be cultivated and cared for, so that they can finally fulfill their original mission, to feed their starving community.
As you might guess, this miraculous event completely shatters the king's hubris. We witness a profound transformation here. The cruel, rage-filled ruler who mercilessly executed innocent men is replaced by a broken, humbled leader. Standing out there in that field, hearing the forgiving voices of the men he murdered, he realizes the terrible magnitude of his mistake. He feels this deep, crushing regret, finally understanding that Loco, Kapas, Dameng, and Munde had sincerely sacrificed their lives for the welfare of his kingdom.
Section 4. A Legacy of Sacrifice.
This singular event, this wild mix of tragedy and magic, shaped the future of the Sadang people forever. The king immediately commands everyone in Sadang to cultivate and care for these mysterious new plants. Season after season passes, and the people tend to the crops exactly as the spirits requested. Eventually, the plants produce these brilliant golden grains. When harvest time comes, the king instructs the people to harvest and pound the grains. Once cooked, it becomes a rich, filling food that entirely ends the devastating famine in Sadang village. They were finally saved.
To honor their unbelievable sacrifice, the king made a decree that actually solves the mystery we brought up at the very beginning of this explainer. He officially named each variety of this life-saving rice after the fallen men. The rice from Loco became Woza Loco. The rice from Kapas became Woza Kapas. From Dameng came Woza Dameng, and from Munde came Woza Munde. They were no longer just men, they were literally the ancestral foundation of the village's survival.
And this brilliantly illustrates how deeply ingrained this story remains today. Take the phrase, "Wono agoriana wane mai noko londang muiguri." This isn't just some historical footnote. This is actually the name of the modern, annual traditional ritual held by the Sadang community. Every single year, wherever Sadang descendants live, they cultivate these four specific ancestral rice varieties. Through this beautiful ceremony, they express profound gratitude for their harvest, remembering the four ancestors who literally transformed into their source of life.
So, we'll end on this thought. How does a sincere sacrifice become the source of life that nourishes entire generations? The story of Loco, Kapas, Dameng, and Munde teaches us that true sacrifice for the welfare of others is never in vain. Out of their suffering and death came an enduring legacy that sustains an entire culture to this very day. The next time you look at a simple bowl of rice, you might just wonder about the history, the legends, and the sacrifices that first brought it from the earth to the table. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring the incredible histories hidden right there in our everyday lives.